Bonsoir, fellow mini enthusiasts! We've got new Ogors, a whole feast of them from the big summer preview. And yes, this song has been living rent-free in my head ever since. First we gotta beat them, then we gotta eat them. Damn it, it's so catchy, been stuck in my brain for days. But without further ado, it's time to compare the lore and the design with another round of
Does the mini tell the story?
And I was going to cover all the new Ogors today, then I started writing about this guy. And apparently, I have a lot to say. So, screw the entrée. We're making an entire meal out of the plat de résistance today. Yes, there will be terrible food puns during this entire video. We're talking Ogors, and I'm French. No, I'm not sorry. You have been warned. So, let's talk about Redd the Maw. The High Slaughter Master is the prophet of the Ogor's monstrous god. He even claims to have seen the gulping god himself, which is more than enough bragging rights to inspire most Ogors. Slaughtermaster? I don't know why. That's just an incredibly satisfying word to say. Slaughtermaster. It's the rhyme, I bet. The Slaughtermaster is accompanied by a pair of Maw-seeker acolytes and a Gorger, the Ogor's cousin but somehow even hungrier and crazier, pulling his bizarrely etched Cauldron. Redd can easily trample his way through enemy lines. And if that wasn't terrifying enough, he can also fling spells from the very reassuringly named Lore of Gut Magic. So, does the mini tell the story? Wow, these new Ogors are an artist all-you-can-eat buffet. And I'm not talking just about this miniature specifically, I'm talking about the whole line and its clear new artistic direction. Clearly, we're looking at a more realistic style for the Ogors. Of course, that's partly thanks to the recent technical advancement in both digital sculpting softwares and the molding industry, but I can also feel a deliberate shift in their proportion. Smaller heads, longer limbs, more believable anatomy. These new Ogors clearly respect the older designs, yet manage to cleverly improve on them. There is a real desire here to establish proper consistency in their visual identity, rather than simply iterating on different possible barbarian looks. Take this motif for example, the circular jaw ornament. We already saw a similar idea on the older man-eaters. It calls back to the Maw design in a really clever way, but for these new Ogors, instead of using a fish-like creature, which is a little harder to justify considering the Maw tribe's very meaty diet, the artists use what I assume are two parts of a giant predator jaw and arrange them into a circle. And this isn't just a Redd thing, many miniatures clearly depict this jaw motif, cementing it as a ritual practice around the entire army. I love that! We even have multiple instances of direct carving into those bones, to attach tusks extending outwards. It's not just decoration anymore, it's becoming a proper visual language for the faction. The other new artistic motif, repeated throughout this new Ogre line, is the gut, directly tied to the lore of their magic. It is a very visceral motif, right? I don't think there is a more visual description of a gut feeling. The entrails motif allows the artist to use arabesque and flowing curved shapes, which we usually associate with more elaborate, aesthetically pleasing designs. But here, it completely subverts your expectation, because those beautiful flowing curves instantly create discomfort bordering on horror. It definitely looks amazing on cauldrons and make for some cool tattoos. It's especially striking on this belly protection. I found this absolutely genius. A great art direction for the whole lineup. We're also going to see these little cloth amulets a couple of times throughout the range. And honestly, I almost wish they used them even more. But let's focus on Redd the Maw specifically now. What a centerpiece! Look at this amazing silhouette. And yes, I literally had to paint over this part of the render because otherwise you wouldn't see crap. I did it just for you, Gobelin Gang. Hey, that deserves a like and subscribe, right? Right? The silhouette is incredibly spiky and menacing, and yet it's so unique. Let me explain. Let's zoom in on our unhinged priest. Firstly, how dare you, Games Workshop? How dare you clearly cut his finger off and not tell me why? If we get an article explaining his lore after I post this video, I'm gonna eat my own words so hard. Welp, at least that's fitting for this video. Take the Maw motif again. It's even more obvious here. To perfect that circular shape, both jaw pieces are physically held together by metallic links. Then Redd's enormous decorative back piece is enhanced even further with tusk, amulet and bone charms. That thing clearly took a long time to craft. And without anyone to tell us anything, it immediately reinforces importance. That is visual storytelling. And Sue's earrings are insane. I'm honestly not convinced he can even close his mouth anymore, which is admittedly very fitting. I don't think this guy is particularly worried about properly chewing his food anytime soon. And can we talk about his skin? The level of details on the skin throughout this entire new Ogor line is amazing. I mean, look at this. The folds, the scars, the texture. The sculptors absolutely nailed it. And the pose. We have one hand grasping an entire heart and the other mixing the soup with that giant ladle, which better have an attack profile, by the way, or I will riot. Though I suppose I can't settle for the more boring meat cleaver here. Okay, if I had one tiny thing to complain about, it's the haircut. I'm just not sold on it. It's a little too on the nose and goofy for my taste, but I suppose we've got other options in the kit, so I'll survive. But what about all the other characters on this centerpiece? Let's start with the Gorger. He looks similar to his counterparts from a couple of years ago, maintaining that extremely bestial appearance. We've got the obligatory modesty loincloth, unique tusk piercings, and Sue's huge clawed hand. He seems slightly more muscular and deformed across the back than the other Ogors, which honestly might just come from pulling these bloody cauldrons around all day. Poor guy, he needs a union or something. Then come our two sidekicks, quite literally here, the Maw Seeker. I do wish they were a little more integrated into the overall centerpiece, like Catacross minions were. And I don't think their poses are quite as dynamic or interesting as similarly styled Gutseers. Yes, one can argue that casually holding Entrées in your hand is already quite interesting, but the quality of the miniatures in the line made me hungry for more. Still, they're pretty good looking. They have a clear executioner vibe, some interesting weapons, and once again, that incredibly detailed skin texture. Finally, let's address the dessert. And my absolutely favorite part, the giant cauldron. Look at this thing! Its intricate craftsmanship further demonstrates Redd's status. It's a beautiful mixture of wood, surprisingly intricate metalwork, and animal trophies. I really like that. And speaking of those trophies, two carcasses, the cow and a human, that looks so grim. I also find it interesting that scale-wise, the art and the entrails they're carrying around are probably not human. They're way too big. Food for thought, food for thought. And finally, la cerise sur le gâteau. The stew itself, which to us isn't appetizing at all. And if you were eating while watching this, I'm sorry. But hey, for an ogre, that probably looks like Michelin star cuisine. So to conclude, this is an absolutely fantastic centerpiece. It perfectly communicates Redd's status, the Ogor brutal culture, and this new artistic direction for the entire range. It's grim, it's unique, it's packed with visual storytelling, and above all, it looks like it's going to be an absolute joy to paint. And somehow, Gobelin Gang, that was one miniature. Yep. Now you understand why this became its own video. I don't want another Armageddon disaster. Nope, no editing hell for me, thank you very much. But the rest of the line is coming soon, so join the Gobelin Gang for more miniature mischief. And if you plan to let the Ogre eat all of your saving, don't forget you can keep me fed by using my Element Games affiliate link. But leaving a like and subscribe works just as well. If you watched until here, You are amazing. Merci beaucoup. Leave 3 stew emojis in the comments so I know you are a very special goblin. And as always, bonne chance with your hobby les amis.